All right. Hi, Hatham. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Vonvo.com. The date is February 23rd.
Hi, Max.
And I just wanted to go over a few quick things before we get started. The first is that right now this conversation is being recorded, and after the recording is complete, I'll be uploading this video to YouTube. Is that okay with you?
That is okay with me.
Great. And the next thing that I just wanted to bring up is that, here at Vonvo, we want our conversations to stay both civil and valuable. So we don't want there to be any personal attacks against anyone who might join our discussion. Are you okay with those ground rules?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, perfect. So let's begin our discussion. And let's start by, can you just give a quick bio of yourself to any of the people who are listening in right now, and to share with anyone who watches this video, who you are and why you're so passionate about this particular subject?
Okay, my name is Haytham El-Zabri. I'm from the village of Arabi, which is near Jenin in the West Bank. That is the same village, coincidentally, that Khadr Adnan is from, and also my uncle Abu Ali Mustafa. My uncle was assassinated. He was a leader in the Palestinian struggle, and he was assassinated in one of Israel's what they call targeted assassinations. They just fired a missile into his office. And I've been passionate about Palestine since childhood because in a Palestinian family, it's inescapable to hear your parents talking about Palestine. And I heard a lot of that, and at a young age, I really had a very deep caring for the issue and for my people, of course. But it really took off when I went to Palestine during the first Intifada in 1981, and witnessed the brutality of the Israeli army against the civilian population, and the level of perseverance and steadfastness of the people, and the way they struggled. It was very inspiring. And since then, I figured, every Palestinian has to do his part and defend his cause. And I've been involved with starting up the Free Samer Issawi campaign, in addition to a lot of other work on the issue. I currently run something called Palestine Online Store, and this is an e-commerce website that aims to get Palestinian products to more people worldwide.
Great. And so, ultimately, when it comes to this particular subject, would you mind just giving us a bit of a background of exactly what this is all about?
Okay, yes. What this is all about is the way Israel has been violating international law and human rights in how it treats the Palestinian population. You can get arrested for anything. Even when the Israeli army raids Palestinian towns, which is very often, if you come out to the streets and you're seen hurling a rock at a jeep and they recognize you, they could come barge into your home in the middle of the night, arrest you, and not even have any evidence or any specific charges. This is what's called administrative detention. They just lock you up and they can keep you there for 6 months without giving you any reason of why you're detained. And after those 6 months, it could be renewed again and again and again indefinitely. So, in effect, you could be put in jail for life without having charges made against you. So, there's the use of torture, of course. As you know, one 30-year-old Palestinian who was arrested 6 days ago from his home, the same way they barged in the middle of the night, dragged him to jail, and he's under interrogation and torture, and he died today. All these, the way they use psychological torture against the prisoners, isolation, denying them access to their lawyers, their families. I mean, Israel has been, violating a large number of international regulations on how you treat prisoners of war, or I'm not sure they can be called prisoners of war, they're civilians. But either way, it's been getting worse and worse. Women have been jailed for political activism while they're pregnant, and babies have been born in jail, and I mean, all kinds of crazy things have been going on. Right now, the reason this issue has come to light recently is because Palestinian prisoners have said enough of this, and we're not going to let Israel continue treating our people this way. And, we're putting our lives on the line just to get this message heard. Obviously, nothing else has worked. The UN hasn't taken any concrete action on this, nor human rights organizations, nor any governments. I mean, there's nothing to stop Israel from doing it. And it now boils down to whether the people want to step up and take, to a grassroots action. And this is the message of those hunger striking prisoners. They are on hunger strike to say, okay, we have to do it. We're putting our lives on the line for this. And what remains on the rest of us is to support those actions. So right now there are four Palestinian prisoners on hunger strike, at least. Actually, a few days ago I heard an announcement that 800 also have gone on hunger strike in solidarity. But I haven't checked on the latest update on that. And if maybe somebody on the Linda or anyone on the list, maybe if you know something about it, please post. But what I wanted to say is these four have been on hunger strike. As you know, I'm really glad you've already had several sessions on the hunger strikers. And probably most of the viewers know this already. I mean, Samer Issawi is now 220 days on hunger, 220 something. Ayman Jaradat is even more than that. And the main issue is, there's no legal basis for their arrest.
Right.
They are, for example, so that's why it's been in the media. Well, I won't say in the media highlight, but that's why it's captivated the attention and really mobilized a lot of activists. Obviously, it's not in mainstream media, and we're really glad that there are alternative media platforms such as Vonvo to make our voice heard.
Right.
Let's talk about it.
Right.
What questions?
Right. So basically, I hope you don't mind me asking this question immediately. I didn't plan on doing it, but I have yet to ask the question to someone, and Norman poses it in the text chat. He asks, why does Abbas not do anything about it? What has President Abbas's stance on this been? What has he been trying to do if he has been doing something?
I am glad that Norman asked that question, because it's really a disgrace that the Palestinian Authority has been completely impotent on this issue.
Really?
Actually, a very shocking story is that Samer Issawi's mother went to visit President Abbas and tell him, do something for my son. What's the Palestinian Authority doing? And he didn't have time to meet with her. He let one of the office staff tell her, if you want your son to live, just tell him to get off the hunger strike.
Really?
So it's been disgraceful, to say the least, that the way the Palestinian Authority has really not put in sufficient effort. They could easily, if they wanted to, it would be pretty embarrassing for President Obama to be told, you're not welcome in Ramallah if you don't get Israel to not abuse our civilian prisoners. That's a very easy thing he could do. But he's never taken steps like this to defend his people. So it's really a shame, and maybe it's another sign for the people to realize that this leadership really needs to be changed. This leadership is not democratic, it's not legitimate, and this is another reason that makes it clear it's time for the Palestinian people to not just rise up against the occupation, but also rise up against, have a democratic leadership, change the representation.
That is, that's pretty. I think that's an amazing. Honestly, I think Norman just asked an amazing question. To hear that sort of response from you, and that's what's been going on, I think is quite remarkable and really speaks wonders to really then how much depth there is to this topic.
Yeah, good question. Thanks,
right.
Norman.
So
did Norman have any follow up on that?
Norman is a very good participant on Vonvo, so he'll ask any questions he has. I guess what I would ask you next then is so what are you looking, or what do you believe the international community should be doing about this? What are your thoughts on what they are doing or what they are not doing that you believe should be improved?
Well, the world community, I mean, let's talk first about governments. Governments, so far as I know, no government has really taken any concrete action to support the prisoners' cause. I mean, this is a very specific, we're not asking governments or world bodies or people, hey, we need Israel to get out of Palestine right now. Okay, we want that, but right now we are making a specific request that the human rights of the prisoners should not be violated. We are asking for nothing beyond international law. And so for the governments to be disregarding that and not, not taking any concrete steps like closing down their embassies in Israel or recalling their ambassadors or sending a message to Israel about this. So the governments are doing nothing. Agencies are, I mean, the UN is, again, not able to do anything when you have the US veto that will shield Israel from anything. Amnesty and Human Rights Watch have issued declarations, but nothing concrete, I mean, you don't see results on the ground yet. I mean, maybe in the long run we will. Now, as far as the people are concerned, there's been an impressive amount of activism, and excuse me, I need just a sip of water.
That's fine.
I'm participating in that fast too, by the way, that Mary talked about this morning.
Right.
So where was I? People are doing a lot of things, and it's very impressive, and it's very amazing that we have so much action going on. First of all, there's the Free Samer Issawi campaign, which has practically overnight garnered a lot of support from people worldwide. There's Facebook campaigns, there's Twitter actions on a daily basis, trending Samer's issue and the prisoners' issue several times this month. There's protests. There's protests in various cities, vigils, protests at Israeli consulates, letters. A lot of people are calling the White House and calling the Israeli judge, military judge. And I mean, people are doing a lot, but there's still a lot that needs to be done. I mean, really, so far, Israel has been totally ignoring all this public pressure because it's not very tangible. Israel has shown it doesn't care what people think, basically. So we need to really, I feel, it needs to be, for it to be effective, it needs to be really stepped up. We need to, everybody who is concerned about the issue should make a point to, on a daily basis, make a phone call, send an email, send a fax, send a tweet, tell somebody in person about the issue, call your media, tell them why aren't you covering this or why aren't you covering it accurately. There's a lot more we can do, and a lot more needs to be done in order to have results and hopefully save the lives of those 4 men who are now, it's miraculous that they're still alive.
Right. So why don't you said that you just actually brought up that you are currently on a 1-day fast, and you guys are trying to obviously broadcast your message. I mean, what exactly is this fast all about, and how exactly did this campaign kind of arise? Why don't you just share what you guys are kind of doing to try and support what's going on?
Okay, this fast arose because one, I think she's British, a British activist lady thought to herself, actually a lot of people are thinking about this too. A lot of people are going on hunger strikes and there's Facebook campaigns about it. And this one picked up a lot. She told a bunch of her friends, let's all of us, maybe it'll feel more like solidarity and effective if 10 of us went on hunger strike. And what do you know? They got the support of 1,000 people. Right now, there's a Facebook group for it called Hungry for Justice, and 1,073 people, the last time I looked, had indicated that they are doing a one-day solidarity fast, which means from 8 p.m. yesterday until 8 p.m. today, in the time zone of wherever the participant is located. And it's water only, so we're allowed to drink water, and I've been drinking a lot of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the goal is to have a common, to share solidarity, because it means something.
Right.
I've gone on hunger strike several times, and okay, I managed to bring it to the attention to my network, but that's very small. But when 1,000 people are doing it, it got on the news. It got on Israeli news, and they said, there's a lot of pressure on Israel now, and there is a campaign where 1,000 people worldwide are on a solidarity fast. So this is making a difference. I feel if the Israeli public, maybe our last chance for something positive to happen is in the public. If the Israeli public would challenge or reject what their government is doing, this brutality, this Nazi-like behavior, if the Israeli public would reject it, we have a chance. And maybe when the Israeli public feels the pressure, as they did this morning on hearing that news, maybe that will let them think, what's wrong here? Are we doing something wrong? Maybe we shouldn't be detaining people this way. Maybe we should respect their human rights. And this is, I think I got off track.
No. You're.
Did I? What was the question again that we were on?
Well, no. So basically, I'm actually looking through the text chat to see, if there's any specific items that some of our viewers are listening. And Mahmoud says, "Do you think this will lead to third intifada?"
I see Linda's. I really hope so. It's, in a way, I hope so, because it's time. It's really time. I'm surprised that in other Arab countries there's been those revolutions, successful or not is debatable, but still that the people rose up and challenged the system and made a change, whether for the better or for the worse. Again, it's debatable, but I'm surprised that the place that we seem to need it the most, Palestine, we still haven't done that, and it kind of baffles me a bit. But I realize there are certain like the Palestinian Authority is the biggest employer in the West Bank. So if your family, if one person in the family is working and he has a job with the Palestinian Authority, you really don't want to see the Palestinian Authority fall apart, because then you lose your income. I mean, it's people need to eat. So I should write down the questions, because a third intifada. Okay. But I think with the way things have been getting worse and worse, it seems people are getting really fed up of this, and I think with the prisoners issue, it struck a sensitive chord, because prisoners, these are our sons being jailed and tortured. I mean, it's very painful for every Palestinian family has someone. Practically every Palestinian family has a member of their household that has been jailed at least once in their life. So since 1967, since the occupation of the West Bank and Gaza, more than 700,000 Palestinians have been jailed, and a lot of times, without charges. Just we don't like. Oh, your T-shirt says "Free Palestine." We don't like it. Come with us. It's really absurd. Anyway, the prisoners issue has become very sensitive, because these are people who've made sacrifices. They've been, standing up for Palestinian rights, and we cannot turn our backs on them. The world has turned its back, but we activists and people of conscience need to give them our support. And so in Palestine, there's been protests in almost every city lately, especially today, at the news of Arafat Jaradat dying in an Israeli jail. There has been a mini uprising in almost every Palestinian village. So maybe this, along with the Palestinian people noticing how Mahmoud Abbas hasn't really done much for the prisoners, hopefully this could lead to a third intifada. I really hope so. But at the same time, I worry, maybe Israel, and I had mentioned that I want to talk about this, maybe Israel wants a third intifada. I mean, Israel has a way of doing things in a calculated manner, like when Sharon walked into the Dome of the Rock. He knew that would provoke the Palestinians. When they bomb Gaza or kill a Hamas leader, they're doing it because they know then, Hamas will shoot rockets, then we can really, pulverize Gaza, if that's what they want. I mean, everything they do is calculated. So part of me worries that, is this intentional? Is Israel, it's been escalating its crimes against the Palestinian people, confiscating lands, demolishing homes, arresting Palestinians. A lot of those prisoners who were released under the Gilad Shalit swap have been rearrested. And this is another provocation. So maybe Israel wants an intifada, and one has to think, what are the possibilities? Why would it want an intifada? What's it up to?
Right. So Haitham, why don't we discuss then, the world reaction to this story. So it hasn't really been getting any media play here in the West. You live in America, I live in America. We don't really hear about this at all over here in the mainstream media. I don't believe our governments are really talking about it. Agencies don't really seem to be talking about it. Where is this story getting played, and why don't you think people are finding out about this story, on a mass level? What do you think are the reasons behind that?
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, Linda also seems to have asked a similar question. I think that's really part of the way of the world's power structure. I mean, the corporate media supports Israel. There's no question about that. It's corporate interests go along with foreign policy, go along with politics. So the media, I mean, the bias is it doesn't surprise me at all. But I think with a lot of pressure, we can get American mainstream media, and I think probably in Europe there's more coverage. There's always more coverage in Europe about what goes on in Palestine. But I think we need to work more on letting American media, because there's only so much they can spin it, and if people are telling them, we know this isn't the truth. Like right now, Arafat Jaradat, we say he died under torture. And that is what, in fact, he told the Palestinian minister of prisoner affairs. He told him, I'm being tortured. So the Israeli prison spokeswoman said, we think it was a cardiac arrest. And now I know already, as soon as it hits the U.S. papers, it'll be, Palestinian, if it gets in the news, it'll be, they always tout whatever is the Israeli official line. And so they're going to say, Palestinians claim it was torture, but it was a cardiac arrest. I mean, that kind of spin. And when we tell them, we know this isn't true, when 1,000 people, they get 1,000 emails, letters to the editor, for example, saying, we know this is not true, please report accurately, and here are the sources. Maybe this could bring a change, but so far, I mean, that's the way mainstream media is. They're going to side with Israel. We're going to get a biased report, and we just have to keep fighting against that.
Right. And so, what do you believe? First off, I just wanted to say I thought that point about Abbas was really fascinating. Is the Hamas government trying to do anything about this story? I'm just curious. That's like a follow-up question from earlier. I'm sorry, but it just kind of came to my head to ask.
It's a good question, and I don't really know the answer, but I know that their hands are tied. I mean, they have no dealings with the Israeli government. There's not really much Hamas can do. I mean, they're basically in a cage. they're in a prison. I mean, Gaza itself is a huge prison. And they're blocked from land, sea, air. So and they don't have diplomatic ties with Israel, at least not officially or overtly. So there's not really much they can do except ask Egypt to intervene. And I don't know why Egypt hasn't been intervening, but the Morsi government isn't really what it's cracked up to be. And after all, he does depend on U.S. aid in order to be where he is. So I don't think there's much Hamas could do, except allow demonstrations in public, which there's been a lot of them in Gaza. Thousands of people, Palestinians in Gaza, have been demonstrating in solidarity with the prisoners. But other than that, I don't know what Hamas could do. I mean, the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas' Palestinian Authority, is more in a position to have a role in making a difference, but they are choosing not to because it's not so important to them.
Right. So, what do you believe is the? Well, actually, you know what? I had a question earlier today. Someone was on the program talking about this subject, and one of the things that they brought up was the idea that after there was a swap of Palestinian prisoners for Gilead Shalit, right? There was a swap of prisoners in that deal. And then afterwards, the Israeli government made like a rule change or something that then allowed them to go ahead and reinsert those prisoners back into jail. Do you know what I'm referring to, or am I confusing you? Do you not?
Well, what I know is that what Israel did is place conditions. Like every prisoner out of the 1,000 plus prisoners, they gave them a contract. If you want to be part of this release, you need to sign this document that stipulates that A, you will not participate in any more of the activities that you were arrested for. B, you will not exit the boundaries of your village. Like you're under house arrest, basically. I mean, there were a lot of conditions that Israel placed on the release of the Palestinian prisoners. But I don't know.
Do you think that was
the other points in particular?
Do you believe,
is that related?
Well, no. So my follow-up question would be is, ultimately, unless you know of what those people were originally put in jail for or in detention for, do you believe that it was right on the Israeli government's part to put them under house arrest, or do you think do you know if these prisoners violated that house arrest?
In most cases, I think there were either no violations or, there are so many of them. If we're talking about those four, for example, for Samer, I'll use him as an example, but in general, there were either no violations or they were ridiculously minor violations. And so what the rule is, so what happened in Samer's case is he was at Hizma. Hizma is it's like a suburb of Jerusalem. It's actually a neighboring village, but it's within Israel's definition of the municipality, of the boundaries of Jerusalem. So he was actually in what Israel defines as Greater Jerusalem. He was arrested because they said, oh, well, you left Jerusalem, you were outside of Jerusalem, so you violated the conditions of your release. Now sit in jail until we decide what we're going to do about that, and after that, you're going to complete your sentence that you were originally held for.
Right.
So that's the way. Yeah, that's the way they've been doing it.
Right. So what do you think, Haytham, is the main motive or reasoning behind continuing to hold these prisoners in Israeli jail, and to continue to see this conflict or crisis subject continue to drag on? Like, what do you think is the motive or reasoning behind having it continue to drag on? I guess from the Israeli point of view, from the Israeli point of view.
Well, I think there are several reasons for it, and one of them is the practice of you know taking a movement leaders away from it. A lot of these guys are activists, and they've been involved in human rights work and the Palestinian cause. And okay, some of them are just student organization leaders, and so I think Israel's main intent is to take away the leadership, the leaders of the Palestinian grassroots movement. People in the nonviolent resistance are particularly targeted because Israel sees those as dangerous. When you resist nonviolently, you get international sympathy, and we don't want that. So these guys get targeted a lot just for nonviolent resistance.
Right.
So where was I? I lose my train of thought.
No, don't worry about it.
What was the question?
Well, we were talking about the main motivation or reason behind having this
Okay,
drag
yeah,
out.
right. So then they want to find any excuse to keep them in jail. I mean, any reason they can find. They'll give bogus charges, no charges. They don't even need to make charges. They just want to keep them as long as possible. Also to break the will, to break the spirit of the Palestinian resistance. Like, to deflate the morale of the people, to show them, if you want to speak about Palestine, here's what happens to you. So it's mostly psychological warfare between a state and a civilian population. That's what it is.
Right. Okay, great. So, I guess what I would ask, actually, let me just quickly see the text comments because I know someone was posting some stuff. Okay, so Lizette posted a question earlier that I overlooked, and she said, Haytham, can you outline how long the hunger strikes have been without food and the latest on Samer, brother Shadi, and his sister? Can you give us some updates on that?
Well, Samer's hunger strike has now been 216 days, to be exact. It was since July 29th. Ayman Sharauna has been for 230 days, except there was just a little break. I mean, it wasn't like Samer's is 216 days continuous, refusing food. Whereas Ayman Sharauna was promised a deal halfway through this hunger strike, and then he realized that they were tricking him, and they said some things and then they didn't honor them. So he was like, "Okay, I'm going back on hunger strike." So the total of that is 230 days, and then there's Tariq Qa'dan and Jafar al-Ziddin for 89 days. And as I mentioned earlier, 800. There's been a mass hunger strike last year too, and now this year, after the death of Arafat Jaradat, 800 Palestinian prisoners have also gone on hunger strike. So it's what else can I say about it? I mean, it takes a lot of determination and a lot of passion to really. They are really trying. They are desperate to let the world hear their situation. They want the world to hear it. And if killing Palestinians doesn't make it to the news, okay, how about we all go on hunger strike in prison until we die? I mean, that's really it seems what it takes to mobilize the world. Does that answer you, Linda?
Yeah. Of course.
Did he die by hunger? No, Arafat died from torture. To answer that latest question, Arafat was arrested 6 days ago, and he was tortured when the Minister of Palestinian Prisoner Affairs went to visit him a few days ago. Jaradat told him, "I'm being tortured," and then a couple of days later, he's dead. So yeah, he wasn't. I don't know if he was on hunger strike during his 6 days. I don't really have that information, but and I don't know why he was arrested. It could be any reason, from being seen from wearing a Palestine t-shirt to being at the wrong place at the wrong time. I mean, I don't know. I haven't found out yet why he's been arrested.
Right. So, I guess what I would ask you, Haytham, is, what message would you like to send to the world about this specific subject, and what people should really know about this topic, and what they're being misinformed on? What do they need to know about this subject?
Well, I think people need to know that Israel is violating a long list of international laws and human rights. People need to know that. Actually, we have a website called freesamer.org, and I'm going to be uploading more documentation on why what is wrong with what Israel is doing. It's illegal, it's inhumane, it violates their human rights. People need to know what's going on, first of all. Second of all, we need more people to dedicate a little bit of time, sacrifice a little bit of their time, even if it's 5 minutes every day, to send an email or get on Twitter or make a phone call or stand at a vigil or a protest or hold a banner. Another thing we've been doing a lot of is holding banners on highways just saying free Palestinian prisoners, or just a simple message for people to just think about and know that there's a problem. So we need more people to show solidarity and take action, and next time maybe Mary and the organizers of the Hungry for Justice would, next time they do it, maybe we'll have 10,000 or 100,000 or 1,000,000 people going on hunger strike, and that will show more solidarity. It will be a stronger message to the governments, to the human rights agencies, to Israel itself, that more needs to be done to protect people, to protect ordinary civilians from being abused by an occupying military power. So we look forward to more conversations also here. I mean, this has been an invaluable way to get our message across, since mainstream media is ignoring this issue. It's great to have Vonvo and other alternative media platforms. We should use these more extensively and get people to come to these platforms and rely on them more than CNN and BBC. And when these organizations know that they are losing viewers because their news is not credible anymore, and now we are getting people media like blogs also, once they realize that, I think maybe it will affect them to be less biased. I mean,
right. So
and
yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead. I mean, in the end, what I'm saying is we all need to do more for those Palestinians, because their human rights are being violated, and if we allow that, it means nobody would stand for us when it happens to us, and it is coming. By the way, I don't want to get into a new topic now, but it is coming to America. What happens to Israel today? The U.S. government is taking note, and some of these practices have been used in riot control. Like when I was at a protest against George Bush in Portland a few years ago, and the riot control gear that they were wearing is exactly what I was seeing in Bil'ain in Palestine by the Israeli military. It started there, and now, I mean, a lot of methods are being emulated by the U.S. from Israel. Practice first in Israel against the Palestinians, and then we'll use it for our riot control and to control our population if it starts getting uncontrollable. So that's another thing to think about and ponder.
Right. So basically for specific, activism, subjects, especially something like this, your base, you feel that basically you don't feel like you're being represented fairly in the media on really important stories such as this, and therefore maybe putting your pieces together and gathering your base, to really be sharing your opinions on platforms such as Vonvo is really what you guys have left to resort to.
Exactly. That's very true.
Okay, great. So Haitham,
the sound is cutting up a bit.
Yeah, I'll speak closer to my computer. What I was going to say is, we've been speaking for a little bit over 40 minutes now, and what I was going to say is we have another discussion going on shortly regarding actually Syria. So what I was going to ask, if there's anything else that you'd like to share, we'd love to hear it. But otherwise, obviously, I wanted to just thank you for your time and discussing this, and discussing this story. And I think I really don't see much reason why we wouldn't be able to continue to host these sorts of discussions on this subject going into the future.
Great, thank you again, Max, for making this platform available for people to speak up, and I really appreciate your coverage on the Palestine issue, particularly.
Great, not a problem. All right, thank you so much, Haytham. And if anyone else has any questions, feel free to ask Haytham. And actually, Norman posted a question. He said, "What is IMEMC? Do you know what that is?"
Yes.
What is that?
International Middle East Media. I forget the exact. It's a news agency based in Bethlehem.
Okay. Got it. Media Center. Okay, great.
Wait, is this in the chat? Yeah.
Okay, great. So Haytham, thank you so much for participating today. And we'll be sure to continue to drive home some conversations on this subject, and we look forward to having you back again.
Great. Thank you again, Max. Take care. Peace.
Thank you.